In this part of the course, we are going to take a closer look at one of the most common and dangerous attacks on the internet, phishing and its variants, such as smishing and vishing. Phishing is a form of digital deception in which criminals try to trick you into giving up sensitive information, such as passwords, banking details, or personal data, by using fake messages that appear to come from legitimate sources, emails, text messages, or even fake websites. The consequences can be serious: loss of money, identity theft, or even damage to a company's reputation. That is why both individuals and organizations must understand how this type of attack works and how to prevent it. We can mention a couple of cases in which international organizations were victims of phishing. These are stories that seem as if they were taken straight out of a movie. One of the most well-known cases involved the hotel chain Holiday Inn. It all started with something as ordinary as a phishing email. An employee received a message that appeared legitimate, with an attachment labeled as urgent. He opened it without thinking too much, and at that moment unknowingly installed malware that gave attackers access. From that single click, criminals were able to steal credentials, move laterally across the network, encrypt critical servers, and paralyze reservation systems and operations worldwide. The company suffered severe disruptions for several days, all triggered by something as simple as trusting an email it should not have. An even more shocking case occurred in Asia, when a finance employee received an urgent video call in which the company's CFO appeared alongside other executives. Everything seemed authentic: the voices, gestures, image, and the urgency of the message. The CFO asked the employee to carry out several internal transfers totaling $25 million, and the employee, fully trusting what they saw, executed each payment. What he did not know was that none of the people on that video call were real. They were deepfakes generated with artificial intelligence using publicly available videos of the executives. The deception was so sophisticated that the company only discovered the fraud days later, when the employee spoke with the real CFO and confirmed that no such request had ever been made. In just a few hours, the organization lost millions simply because someone trusted what they saw on a screen. Both cases demonstrate that attackers do not need to exploit technical vulnerabilities to cause massive damage. It is enough to deceive a single person. That is why cybersecurity is not only about technology, but also about judgment, verification, and critical thinking in every digital interaction. Now, there are several types of phishing that we need to know. The first and most common is email phishing. Here, attackers send messages that appear to come from someone you know or from a trusted company, such as your bank or an online store where you frequently shop. The email includes a link or an attachment that, when clicked, either causes you to hand over sensitive information to the attacker or redirects you to a malicious website. The second type is phishing through fake websites. When victims click on malicious links, they may be taken to fake websites. In this case, criminals create pages that perfectly imitate the originals. For example, a page identical to an electronic payment service like PayPal, with the goal of tricking you into entering your credentials and thereby stealing that information. There is also spear phishing, which is a much more targeted form of phishing. Attackers research their victim, review social media, emails, or news, and then send a personalized message that looks completely legitimate. This type of attack has affected even large companies and governments precisely because it appears real. When spear phishing targets a senior executive within an organization, it is often called whaling because it involves hunting a whale. Another very common type of phishing is smishing, or phishing via text messages. Here, criminals send fake text messages to your mobile phone, claiming, for example, that your account has been blocked or that you have won a prize, along with a link for you to verify your information. In reality, it is a trap to make you hand over your own data. Recently, these attacks have expanded to messaging applications, such as WhatsApp or Telegram. Finally, we have voice phishing, or vishing, which occurs over the phone. In this attack, the attacker may pose as a representative of your bank, a telecommunications company, or even a government institution. They use technical language, a confident tone, and sometimes even real information about you, which makes them seem legitimate. The danger is that over the phone, it is not always easy to verify who is on the other end. And now, with the evolution of artificial intelligence, it has become increasingly easy to clone people's voices, making this attack even more convincing and dangerous. In all these cases, attackers pretend to be someone you trust, your bank, a well-known company, or even a friend. The message seems friendly or urgent, but in reality, it is trying to get you to click on a link or download a malicious file. Now, looking a bit more closely, a phishing attack usually works as follows. First, the attacker sends a malicious message to the victim. This can be an email, a text message, a WhatsApp message, and so on, with very convincing content that includes a link to a malicious site. The user falls into the trap, clicks the link, and is taken to a fake website that asks for confidential information, such as login credentials. Once the data is entered, it is sent to the attacker, who can use it to carry out further attacks, such as committing financial fraud or installing malware on your devices. After stealing the data, the fake website redirects the user to the real site so that the victim does not become suspicious. In this process, there are two important things you need to learn. First, you should never click on a link unless you are completely sure it is not malicious. Second, you must learn how to identify phishing emails or messages, as this can make a huge difference. Here are some key tips to help you avoid falling victim to phishing attacks. First, carefully check the sender. Do you really know that person or company? Were you expecting that message? Scammers often change the visible name of the sender to make it look legitimate, so hover over the address or review it fully before trusting it. Also, pay attention to the urgency and tone of the message. If someone writes to you with an urgent request or outside normal business hours, it may be suspicious. Phishing plays on emotions: fear, urgency, curiosity, or surprise. Watch out for generic greetings, such as "Dear User" or "Dear Customer." Legitimate companies usually address you by name. If they do not, that is a warning sign. Never download files or click on links from unknown sources. And even if a site looks legitimate, hover over the link and check whether the web address truly matches the official one. Often, just a single changed letter, as shown on screen, is enough to deceive you. Remember something important. No legitimate organization will ask for your passwords, banking details, or card number via email or message. If you receive such a request, it is best to contact the company directly using an official number or channel. Now, what additional behaviors should you adopt to protect yourself from phishing? First, educate yourself and stay informed. Knowing the most common tactics is the best defense. Cybercriminals are constantly evolving, so staying up to date is essential. Second, always verify suspicious requests. If you receive an email asking for something urgent, do not reply directly. Go to the official website or call the company to confirm whether the request is real. Third, enable two-factor authentication on all your accounts. That way, even if an attacker steals your password, they will not be able to access your account without that second verification step. Fourth, keep your software up to date. Operating systems, browsers, and applications need security patches to prevent attackers from exploiting newly discovered vulnerabilities. And of course, use strong and unique passwords for each account. Avoid reusing them and change them periodically. If you ever fall victim to a phishing attack, do not panic. Take a breath and act calmly but quickly. First, change your passwords on the affected accounts and on any other accounts where you use the same password. Then, enable two-factor authentication if you do not already have it. If you shared financial information, immediately contact your bank or card provider and report the incident. It is also advisable to run a full antivirus scan to ensure your device is clean. Finally, report the attack, whether to the authorities, your company's IT department, or directly to the affected service. The key is to stay alert. Be skeptical of anything that seems too urgent or too good to be true, and always remember, your best defense is your good judgment.